Hello, future Lori here. Before you watch this video today, I want you to know that I had every intention of getting this video out on July 31st or August 1st at the latest. We went on our annual trip to Water Valley, to the valley as we affectionately call it, to our cabin, and there's no Wi-Fi in the cabin, but I really thought that I would be able to get onto Wi-Fi in a coffee shop or somewhere and get this popped up after editing it on my laptop. None of those things worked out. It was a lesson in needing to unplug and to not worrying about anything but the moment where we were and doing what we were doing with people that we love. So here is the video that I intended to post before the end of July, beginning of August. But good morning, readers. It's Lori, and welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. It is the end of June, not quite, but close enough. I have been hoarse for most of June, and actually, as you know, I also had the bronchitis, and I feel like this is either a somatic response to something that's going on in my life, like I'm not being expressive enough, or it's just residual from the bronchitis, or it's an allergy. But whatever it is, it's driving me insane. So I have my water, no coffee today. I had enough. So it is almost the end of July. Did I say June earlier? It's almost the end of July, and I don't know that I'm going to finish anything else before midnight tomorrow night. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my July wrap up, and then I will start filming some more videos. Hopefully before I leave on vacation, I can get a few more filmed, and then I can edit them and get them posted while I'm up. Well, it's a mini break. I wouldn't call it a vacation. I'm just going away for a couple of days. So let's talk about July. I thought I read more books in July than I did for some reason, but I read 6 books, which is definitely not anything to be, sad about. I enjoyed all 6, and I did participate in the reading rush. So some of the books I talk about today, I won't talk about in huge detail because I have a video for that too coming up. But let's start with the first book that I completed, which was The Last Romantics by Tara Conklin. I listened to this on Scribd, and I listened to it in 2 kind of chunks, a bit of it on the way to my vacation in Branson, and then most of it on the way back. And I finished it that night after we returned home. In fact, I liked it so much that I listened to it while I unpacked and got settled back in the house and had to finish it. I had like an hour left, and I was determined to complete it. I've never read anything by Tara Conklin. She's a new author to me. I do plan to take a look at some of the other things she's written. I know she's written at least one other book. I really enjoyed The Last Romantics. It was recommended to me a couple of times, and it just sounded very intriguing. I read a blog post about the summer reads that you should take a look at. I can't remember who posted it. And then it was recommended at my local Barnes & Noble. It was a staff pick. So that was enough for me to download it and begin listening to it. I'm glad I listened to it. I think I would have enjoyed it just as much if I had read the physical copy. But it's lyrically written. It's delicious in its prose and in the way that it flows. I enjoyed the narrator, and I enjoyed the fact that it was narrated the voice of the novel is the youngest child. So it's a family saga from when they're small children to adults, which I appreciate and have always enjoyed, especially when it's well done. The narrator of the novel is Fiona Skinner, who is a poet and is now I think she's 102 or something, and it flashes back from the moment where she is introduced as a speaker at an event at a local poetry reading event, and then she flashes back along her life because something happens in the building and the lights go out or the power goes out, and so they're all sort of stuck there, and people are asking her questions about her life, and who in particular she wrote a poem about, and the woman in the poem was named Luna. She has three siblings, her brother Joe and her sisters Renee and Caroline, and her mother has a traumatic reaction to their father's death, as one would. But what she does is she sort of holds up in her room as becomes a really reclusive person, doesn't go outside, doesn't interact with the children for a pretty long period that they refer to as the pause. And so that definitely affected their strengths and their weaknesses. It affected the way that they were with each other. It affected a lot of the things that they did somewhat unsupervised as children, and it carries into their adulthood. It's a beautifully written novel. Again, I think I said I really enjoyed the poetic prose almost of the novel, and just the way that she was able to tell the story about her siblings from her perspective, which of course was one of looking on or one of hearing what had happened to them if she wasn't present later. I highly recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. I'm not sure why I didn't give it a solid 5 in that moment, but I gave it 4. And I can't wait to take a look at something else that Tara Conklin has written. Then I brought along on my trip The Child by Fiona Barton. I had gotten this in a haul, I think in June, and I still have a little bookmark inside of it, but I did complete it. And this is the second in her series with the same sort of crime solver. She's not a detective. She's actually a journalist, and her name is Kate Waters, and she kind of keeps up with these unsolved crimes or these really difficult crimes. And in this case, a body is found of an infant in a construction site, and there's all kinds of speculation about who the child might be, and Kate starts to investigate it, even though it's the child's skeleton is clearly old. I didn't like The Child as much as I liked The Widow, but I still liked it. I gave it 3 stars. I liked it. I finished it. It was compelling. I enjoyed reading it while I was on vacation. It kept me interested. I like Kate Waters' character. It just wasn't quite as intriguing to me as the other. I liked the twist at the end. I saw it coming though. I really knew exactly what was going to happen as the information unfolded. I was certain that I knew how it wrapped up, and I was right. But I don't know that everyone. I mean, I think probably everyone would get to that conclusion. It was pretty obvious, I thought, but. Good. And I have The Suspect, which is book number 3 on my Kindle, and I plan to continue on with this author. So again, 3 stars, not a new author to me. Then I finished on my summer reading list, I finished Neighborly by Ellie Monago. This one I had started, I think, last summer, and I was really determined to complete it. And again, that's one of the reasons I put it on my summer read list. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't love it. I didn't like it a lot. It was okay. It follows a couple who build a house in a new neighborhood, very prestigious, very affluent neighborhood. They may have overstepped their financial bounds. They have a new baby. She's definitely got some stuff going on with her and her ability to be comfortable in her new home. She's got some weirdness with the baby, feeling a little detached, and she feels like they're kind of in over their heads with this new neighborhood, and the neighborhood is oh so welcoming, and they throw big parties and do crazy things for new neighbors. And then she starts getting notes left on her property or somewhere nearby where she can see them that are kind of menacing and a little bit threatening, and that's making her very uneasy, and she knows it's coming from one of the neighbors and she doesn't know which one. So you kind of get to know the neighborhood, you get to know the characters in the neighborhood. It's good. It's a solidly written novel. I just it was okay. It was good. I'm glad I read it. It's a great summer read. There's lots of barbecuing and other summery things happening, but it was a little far-fetched at times for me. Maybe just because in my world things like that don't always happen. But I had a little trouble with the plot midway through, so that might have been why it wasn't quite a 4-star read for me. But uh, I don't, yeah, I liked it. After that came the Reading Rush Readathon, which used to be called BookTubeathon. And again, I'm not going to go over these in detail because I'm going to do another video about that. But I have a 3-novel pack edition of James M. Cain's novels, and I read The Postman Always Rings twice. It was a challenge to read a movie to adaptation book and then watch the movie. So I did both. I read the book and watched the 1946 version of The Postman Always Rings Twice. I wasn't crazy about the book or the movie, but I gave this 3 stars, I think. Yeah. This is my first James M. Cain, I think. I don't recall reading anything else by him. It was short. It was 87 pages. It was the prose of it, the flow of it was tricky for me. It reads like a film noir movie. It was hard for me. It was choppy and was hard for me to feel like it was flowing. But I'm glad I read it, and I am going to read Double Indemnity, which I've seen some reviews that say that it's basically the same book with different characters at the center of it, and I do plan to read Mildred Pierce. I've seen the adaptation of Mildred Pierce before, and I've never read the novel. So that's my later in the year plan, but definitely glad that I read that, and that followed 2 prompts for me, or checked off 2 challenges for me in the reading rush. And then I picked up Waking Up in Paris by Sonia Choquette, which also checked off 2 challenges for me. This is a memoir, nonfiction, my only nonfiction read of the month of July. I gave this 4 stars. Sonia Choquette is not a stellar writer, but you are sort of just swept in by her simple, wholehearted connection in her writing, as well as in some of the things that she's feeling and doing. And I was just drawn into it. I think I read it in 2 days. I love the cover with the flowers. And then there's a photo of her with the flowers on the back. This, again, fulfilled 2 prompts for me. I had put this on my list to read in 2018 because I got a copy from the publisher then, and it had purple on the cover, so it worked for me. But I'm so excited that I read it, and it makes me want to read her other memoir called Walking Home, which I plan to do very soon. And then the last book I read in July was Tangerine by Christine Mangan. This was also on my list since 2018. A friend of mine read it last year, and then I saw it as a recommended book at Square Books, where I'm actually headed in a couple of days, by it was one of the staff picks. I've read a lot of pretty mixed and pretty awful reviews on this book, and I will say that I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I think, and I don't know how to handle this, and I'm going to decide before I finish up the Reading Rush video. I feel like I got a very different perspective that reading it than other people did. I think I don't know. I'm curious about whether or not what I thought was happening. And I mentioned it to my friend Heidi, and she said, I don't know. I didn't get that. So I may do a video with a giant spoiler in it and then just see what other people think that have read it, or I don't know, or just keep it to myself. I hate spoiling for people, so if I do it, I'll definitely have a clear-cut delineation about where the spoiler is. Short plot summary follows a character named Alice who is challenged by some emotional responses to some traumatic event that has happened in her life. Well, two traumatic events. Her parents are killed, and then something else happens at college. She has a friend, Lucy, at college who's there when it happens, and later she ends up marrying a man, and they move to Morocco, to Tangier. And the girl from college shows back up very unexpectedly. So it goes back and forth from both of their perspectives. And I really liked it. If what I think happened, then I like it even more because I think it was very well done if no one else really saw that. Very cryptic, I know. But I recommend it. I liked it a lot. And I think it's been optioned for a film. I saw some buzz about that George Clooney had optioned it and that Scarlett Johansson is going to star in it. So again, that'll be a way of, I guess, seeing if they had the same take on it as I did. But that one was very interesting, very different. So all in all, I read 6 books. I gave 3 books 4 stars and 3 books 3 stars, 1 nonfiction, 5 fiction novels, and a total of 1,727 pages read to completion. I did read, because of the reading rush, I read a little bit, not very much, of Bite Me. I'm going to continue with that at some point. I read a little bit, not very much, of The Westing Game. My granddaughter extended my loan on that book, and then I got from the library, and I'm currently reading The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. I read one of his last summer. I enjoyed it. It's horror, it's suspense, it's nice, and I'm reading it on ebook as well as hardcover, and I plan on finishing that in the next day or so. Well, not before the end of July probably, but definitely when I get on my little mini break. We'll be in a cabin in the woods, so that'll be even a better place to read that, The Cabin at the End of the World, right? We really literally will be in a cabin at the end of the city. Fun, fun. Thanks for watching today. I'd love to hear what you read in July, or if you've read any of these, how you found them to be for you. And like, comment, share. I appreciate all of you so much. It's like having a little reading family around me all the time. The comments are so great and positive. I think I had a real struggle in June to get videos up with the traveling and the work after I returned from traveling. And we had some work done on the house, which did not bode well for filming. But I think July was just, it's a busy month. Summer is busy for me, but August might be a little bit less hectic. We shall see. I really wanted to film a video with my granddaughter about books that she enjoys reading. I do plan to still do that, but I did have her for 3 days too, which was a lovely, glorious time. Not a lot of reading got done, but lots of game playing and card playing and lots of watching Stranger Things and walking around town. So it was a great time. Let me know what you've been doing this summer too. I always like to hear how people spend their summer time. And as always, happy reading. Bye.